a beautiful night as I drive down Willow Road, and here is Northwestern. They have a facility right here in the Glen. That's the old military base. It's a naval base. They converted into all kinds of restaurants and offices and homes. Again, the U.S. government could have owned it and leased it out to the development. But I guess I don't know how much revenue they got from the developer. But anyways, it's 72 degrees out. It's a beautiful morning at 4:30 a.m. Chicago time. It reminds me of mornings like this. Reminds me of the spring in Arizona, if anyone's ever been there. The fall here is my favorite time of year, and in Arizona, the spring is my favorite time of year. So, if you ever go to Arizona, the spring is like the fall here in Chicagoland area. Truly, it's very similar in how the weather feels. It's incredibly beautiful. That's why when I went to Spring Fling, which is the largest student-run carnival in the United States, and I went up there visiting a relative who was going to school there, and it was just incredible. Beautiful weather, and beautiful campus, and beautiful girls, and just a great school, University of Arizona. Truly, I think it was an awesome school, or is an awesome school. But anyways, the weather is similar to the fall in the Chicagoland area, and it reminds me of being with Jennifer Kim. The fall evenings and that we spent together, like hanging out in Fulton Market and many other places with her friends. Truly, we had some incredibly beautiful fall and early winter moments. But again, it's take advantage of these times, if you can. It's beautiful to do things. This is perfect weather to jog, 72 degrees, or do anything early morning. I used to go jogging right now, 4:30. I'd actually be up to run or be up to go to the gym at 4:30 in the morning. So it's a beautiful time to be up. And if you're in Arizona and you're in the Scottsdale area, there's trails on Mormon and National. These are two trails that you run up the mountain. They're awesome. I used to run Mormon and National. I get up probably about 4 in the morning. I go out there, take about a half an hour from where I was living, and I go running in the mountains. Now, the thing about it is that, it's you can do mountain biking there too. But it's not smooth trails. It's not like a smooth running trail per se. It's more uneven footing. So it's kind of like parkour. And you're jumping from this area to area. It's awesome. I used to sprint it eventually, and it's awesome for coordination and balance. Running up a mountain, especially if the terrain is unstable, is great. So you run up a mountain for strength, and you run downhill for speed. So if you're trying to get more powerful, like Dick Buck is here in the Chicagoland area, he used to push a car up the hill. Now that's for power. You put the car in neutral and you push it up the hill. So you can do a sled. They don't do this in football, but the offensive and the defensive lineman can hit the sled and push the sled uphill. It can be the single bag sled or the one with 4 or 5 bags. We had both sleds, but it was even ground, and we used to have to hit and then continue to push the sled. So you can do the single man and push the sled up the hill, but the thing that's for power, but going down the hill is for speed. And so you want to try to run faster and faster down the hill. But make sure you be careful to not overextend yourself, because obviously you can tumble forward. So, do it mindfully, but you can grab. I did that, and I used to sprint downhill in a place in Northbrook. I ran up the hill and then down the hill for speed. Now you can use a weighted vest. You can use ankle weights and wrist weights as well. And you can put all three on: ankle, weighted vest, and wrist. They give you some more resistance training. But I guarantee you, I got my speed down to close to a 4.4. I think it was right around 4.5. So I could have dipped lower. But again, my nephew ran a 4.4, Dan. So speed in our family. My brother was fast. I don't know what his 40 was. He played defensive back for Northern Illinois. And I played college football at Benedictine and then rugby at the University of Arizona. I did play football for a short period at Arizona as well. But besides that, if you really focus on things and you're trying to achieve, and one of the things is doing these physical feats, then they're accomplishable, but you just need to know how to get there. So what really makes the difference is who's guiding you. And so finding the right coach, the right guide is critical. As I put out earlier, I mean, it's critical really to find the right mentor, somebody that you follow in the footsteps. And so when you're doing this, if you can hook up with the right individual that can give you this guidance. There was, and I wish I was talking to my friend Pete, there was a trainer who's famous, but you have to be a bodybuilder. Now, he's not a bodybuilder himself, but he's trained most of all the greatest bodybuilders. And he's a white male. I forget his name. But Arnold, and obviously the others would all know him. I think Arnold interacted or trained with him. Most of all, the most famous bodybuilders trained with him at one time or another. But Pete knows his name, and his name escapes me now. But if you look up at what he was doing in physiology and building muscle mass, it was pretty cutting edge stuff. So if you're into bodybuilding, then he would be somebody you would find to accomplish that aspect. I mean, if you're into that. Now, I don't know who is the person like Cammie. She became became Miss Fitness USA, and her sister is Corey Everson, who's a female bodybuilder, but Cammie won the fitness. And I don't know if she's coaching. She went to Deerfield High School, and Corey Everson went to Deerfield. But I don't know who were their coaches. Like Mag Ritchie is a female who was an Olympic powerlifter, female Olympic powerlifter. And she was the strength and conditioning coach at the University of Arizona when I met her. So there's Dan Worth. He was a strength and conditioning coach for the University of Arizona. And then my roommate, Eric Pence. Those are a few names. And then I had another friend who was the strength and conditioning coach for the Chicago Bulls. And he used to work at Bally's too. He had 2 jobs. He was a strength and conditioning coach for the Bulls, but he also had a second job, and he took private clients outside of basketball, private clients at Bally's. And he was the one who told me about the hill, about running up and down the hill for strength and speed. And he's a really good guy, and I don't know where he is now, but he had 2 jobs. He was the strength and conditioning coach. I don't think he was the head strength and conditioning coach for the Bulls, but he was the strength and conditioning coach, one of them, and then he was also, he took private clients at Bally's in Deerfield. And me and him used to be friends and talk about physical development. He's a great guy. I used to hang out with, like my friend Jerry Villano. His father is a chiropractor. Now, Jerry went to the University of Arizona for strength and conditioning. I think I think that he was in the strength and conditioning program. So was my other roommate, Derek. He was in the strength and conditioning program, and then my other roommate, Eric, and he got his master's. And Northern Illinois has an outstanding master's program in strength and conditioning. It's one of the top programs. Flagstaff's a beautiful place to be, but you have to understand. So I used to hang out with a lot of strength and conditioning people and bodybuilding people and so on. And so it's a good community. So who you put yourself around is they're going to rub off on you, and you're going to rub off on them. Meaning you're going to affect each other, hopefully positively. You put yourself around the right people, and they can affect you in positive ways, and you can affect them in positive ways. And most people get around the wrong people for themselves, truly, and they get misguided. So finding the right friends is a thing that you should think about, how to find the right group of friends where you fit in and you're positive to them and they're positive to you. A lot of people get off on the wrong track because they get around the wrong people, and those people got around the wrong people. And so people don't think about it, but getting around the right people for yourself can further yourself positively. And if you end up getting around the wrong people, then they can, because they made bad decisions and got around the wrong people, and it took them down the wrong path, and then they get around you and they take you down the wrong path. So you should be selective in who you pick as friends. Truly, you should be selective in who you choose as a friend. And so, making wise choices, because, good friendships are critical. And so don't look for lots of people, look for the right people. And so you can mutually benefit, but you have to figure out, the road that you're going to go down so you can get around the right people. So if you're going in, I'm listening to ESPN, and you're going into announcing, you want to get into communications programs. You want to get around people who do communications, that right communications. Oh yeah, that right communications, that do different forms of communication. University of Arizona has you can be a communications major. And so you can take content and properly format it and communicate it correctly, correctively, and effectively to your audience. So we studied Hitler. And what we studied about him was his ability to change tones and to motivate individuals. As you see, he does these build up, and at the end of his speeches, there's this incredible momentum. And they do the Sieg Heil, and Sieg Heil, and Sieg Heil. And so he was able to motivate the people. So, yes, he had skills. And so you have to separate out the good from the evil. And so we studied his ability to motivate people, effectively motivate. And they say he was one of the greatest speech motivators. So he would motivate people, and we watched films about him and so on, and how he motivated individuals. And so we did this in the communication class. And I did my first speech in front of people in the communication class. And I was scared, and I raced through it. So Toastmasters is a good group to get with. And that focuses on developing public speaking. So if you're going to go into communications, eventually, say you're an ESPN host, eventually you're going to do these public speaking engagements. So you're not always going to be behind a microphone in that way. So you have to, get over your stage fright. And that's what I had. Even if it was a small audience, the classroom, I was still really nervous standing in front of them and giving my speech. And my teacher tried to calm me down. My teacher was female. And but it was a good class. And we got into a lot about speaking, and that's where I got all the information about personal space. We talked about, communications and being in proper distance. When you invade somebody's space and you're communicating to them, they have a sense of building tension. So police officers don't understand. They have a gun, they have a taser, they have mace, and so on. They're not supposed to get close to people unless they're going to handcuff you and that. They're supposed to keep their distance. Number one, it keeps them safe. They can't grab their gun or whatever, their weapons. But the whole point is it also is non-threatening. Officers are not supposed to, like they did with me, get close. They're supposed to, keep a good distance, because just their presence is threatening. And then if they come closer, it's very threatening because they have all these weapons. Unlike detectives who come in suits and ties and, are well groomed and, are, that's why the Secret Service is that way. so they don't pose this menacing threat. They're want people to feel comfortable in that. So the president doesn't want people on stage and this show of force. And so they use the Secret Service. They're in suits and ties and so on. And they need to be clip-on ties because you don't want somebody to grab the tie. So always do that. If you're a doorman or something, wear a clip-on tie if you're in any environment that could get hostile, like police. They should only be wearing clip-on ties. That way it snaps off. If they pull on it, it can't be used to choke them or control them. So, anyways, pulling into my place. So, I'll leave this video, but hopefully you find the right mentors.